Alright, so I just saw a movie, and I will get back to the Star Wars marathon, but first I have to talk about this thing because wow. I mean I have to talk about this now while it's still fresh in everyone's minds, including my own. I have a feeling that if I delay posting this review, then I will forget about this movie. It is that transparent. I mean, okay, it's called The Host. It's based on a book written by Stephanie Meyer. Okay, I have seen all the Twilight movies because I know people who like them, so they kept telling me, "Well, you should well, this Twilight movie won't be so bad." They were lying, but at least now I can enjoy the Twilight riff tracks, which are hilarious. But I digress. The Host was billed as Stephanie Meyer, the adult or the writer of Twilight, finally writing an adult novel. And that novel was subsequently made into a movie by the director of Gattaca, and boy did it backfire. I mean, this movie flopped. This movie, well, the critics were saying that it was worse than any of the Twilight movies. B, if a movie is so bad or so hated from its inception, then by its target fan base, even the fan base would not stick up for this one. I My curiosity was piqued. I had to see this movie to find out what was in it that was so bad. And this movie's not good. This movie is, oh boy, it's wow. Oh jeez. It is worse than any of the Twilight movies. I can say that without any kind of hesitation. I mean, there are one or two of the Twilight movies that come close to being as bad as this, but this is just so boring. It is so uninvesting. Okay, I should start with the story. The story is it takes place in the future, and this race of aliens who this race of aliens are essentially able to transfer their essence into any being. So what happens is they come to Earth. They essentially take over the Earth by implanting themselves in the Earth's people. Um, and one one particular girl is implanted with one of these things. But the thing is, she still retains her human consciousness. So the entire movie is just her trying to coexist in one body with the alien creature. All the while being chased by 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 the other by the other aliens who are in human bodies, and and coming to coming to this group of human resistors, and eventually falling in love with eventually both the human girl and the alien girl fall in love with two separate guys. So yeah, it becomes a love story like Twilight. Okay. The acting is. Can I think of a single performance that I liked? Not really. I mean, at least in Twilight, there were performances that I liked. Like Billy Burke was probably the best in those movies. I mean, Billy Burke was just so likable in those movies as as Mustache Dad. But in this one, okay, Saoirse Ronan, who is actually a very talented young actress, she plays the main girl in the movie, and she's actually not that bad. I mean, it's not like Kristen Stewart, where Kristen Stewart can't act. Saoirse Ronan can act, but her acting is limited by the material. So, she occasionally does make you believe in whatever emotion she's supposed to be feeling at that particular moment, but for the most part, she's just this zombie on screen. She's just this kind of very disconnected zombie, and all the emotion is done via voiceover. That seems to be the case for a lot of the characters. Not so much the voiceover, but the kind of listless zombie acting. I mean, another bad performance in the movie is given by what's his name, Jake. Okay, the two main guys in the movie. Of course, it's a love triangle. If going by just the physical people involved, it's a love triangle. But if we're going by the mentalities involved, it's a love square type thing. So the main two guys in the movie are played by Jake Abel and Max Irons, and Jake Abel is a bad actor. At least I think so. I mean, he's the guy that looks. Who I said this in the Percy Jackson video. He looks like a cross between Gary Busey and the Sloth from Ice Age. He was in those Percy Jackson movies. He can't act. I mean, he's pretty flat, very wooden, and very dull too. I mean, he's actually very, very, very dull in this movie. Max Irons, who actually looks like he can act, but he just chooses not to. I mean, apparently Max Irons actually has somewhat of a career. He doesn't have a ton of stuff on his resume, but I've looked him up on Wikipedia, and he's on that new White Queen show, so it's not like he's hard pressed for work. But he actually seems like a decent actor, but kind of like Saoirse Ronan, he is nullified. I mean, his emotion is nullified by the material. And the thing that surprises me about this movie is that this movie got two big name actors and did nothing with them, because it has Diane Kruger as the villain, or the villainess, she's she's basically she's basically Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive. I mean, she just goes on this kind of private manhunt looking for Saoirse Ronan through the desert. We occasionally get this kind of we occasionally see a scene where she's mentally deteriorating, but that never really goes anywhere. I mean, for the most part, again, she's just this zombie. She's just this. It's like, join us, you will lead us to the humans. But even worse than her, and I was not expecting this, even worse than her is William Hurt. I don't know how this movie got William Hurt, but he plays the leader of the human resistance. I don't even know what kind of name they gave him. Jebediah. That was it. So William Hurt he sleeps through this performance like the paycheck that it is. I mean, it is. He does not raise his voice. He does not. There is no scene in this movie where he seems fully awake and invested. I mean, every single scene in his movie is just spoken not just like the zombies from not just like all the other zombie actors from the movie, but he just does not care. He looks like he's about to. He looks like he's on NyQuil, to be honest. I mean, he looks like he's on some kind of drug or sleeping pill. I mean, he just looks like he's about to fall over at any moment. I mean, did they just wake him up from his nap between takes? I don't know, but he is so. Like I said, he sleeps through the performance. It's like Anthony Hopkins in Thor, only worse. Because there were at least in Thor, there was the occasional scene where Hopkins raised his voice and yelled at Thor. But it was really something. I did not expect the worst performance in the movie, or one of the worst performances in the movie, to come from William Hurt. That was actually a really big surprise. And seeing William Hurt and Diane Kruger in this was kind of the same reaction I got to seeing Graham Greene in the first Twilight movie. I'm like, no, come on. But yeah, the acting is very bad. But the thing is, where the movie really falls apart is in its writing and making you care about these characters, because you do not care one inkling about any of these people. You actually care more about the aliens than you do about the humans, and I don't think you're supposed to. But yeah, the story is very bad. The story is just so uninvesting and so boring, because the movie opens with Saoirse Ronan running away from the alien orderlies, and they're like, join us, and she throws herself out a window, what looks to be a drop of like 50 feet. Somehow she doesn't die. I mean, they address the fact that she doesn't die, but they never give any concrete explanation as to why she doesn't die. But the rest of the movie is just this random series of events. They're trying to tell a story about humans and aliens coexisting, but it's done so poorly because it's done in such a random order. I mean, you never feel like this movie is structured like a movie. I mean, the narrative never really coheres the way that they want it to. I mean, just these random things happen in the movie. I mean, these random scenes between people, it never really feels like it connects in any kind of meaningful way. But the most annoying thing in this movie is actually a stylistic choice. In that Okay, okay. What happened at the beginning of the movie? About 5 minutes in, you see the alien in Saoirse Ronan's body. She's looking in the mirror, kind of getting a feel for her new host, and she has these big blue eyes, these huge big blue and white alien eyes. And like I said, she's looking in the mirror, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this very loud, very obnoxious voiceover comes on. And it's apparently their way of um, of conveying that the human girl is still inside her head. I mean, human girl talks to the alien, and it is so loud and so distracting. I thought it was just going to be a one-time thing, but then slowly the realization comes to me that they are going to do this throughout the whole movie. And they do. I mean, throughout the whole movie, not even periodically, just very frequently, they would play this really loud, really sassy, really obnoxious voiceovers, and you would see the character on screen argue with this voiceover, and it's just so annoying. It's not endearing, and most of all, it's distracting. I mean, whenever it comes on screen, it completely takes you out of the movie. It completely takes you out of any kind of dramatic scene or any kind of emotion that they wanted you to feel at that point. I mean, it's one of the worst gimmicks I've ever seen done in a movie. I mean, it is just so it makes the whole thing so much worse. And I was checking my watch multiple times throughout this movie. I probably checked the time maybe 10 times in this movie because it just feels so long. Again, because it's not really structured like a movie. I mean, it's just this random scenes of people interacting, and the interactions are not interesting because the acting is not very good because the material won't let it be good. Oh, God. I hated this movie. Oh. The one good thing I can say about it is that the music is not that bad. The music is actually not bad at all. It doesn't add any energy to the movie, but the music actually puts more emotion into some of the scenes than the actors do. It's like I said in the Attack of the Clones video, except less here because the music does not put as much effort into the scenes as John Williams does, but still it adds more emotion to the scenes than the actors do. And you know, it doesn't even make sense because the aliens don't really seem bad. They don't seem evil. The humans actually seem more evil in this movie because later on you find out that the humans are capturing these aliens and actually cutting them out of their hosts and dissecting them and slaughtering them. The aliens did not do anything like that. And the aliens seem like much nicer people than the humans do, honestly. I mean, the humans are just so unreasonable and so unlikable at certain points that I was actually kind of rooting for the aliens. And from the beginning, you find out that the movie wants you to feel bad about losing characters that you barely know. Like, you're supposed to feel sad that Saoirse Ronan has been taken over by the alien, but you didn't know Saoirse Ronan before she got taken over by the alien, so you can't feel sad about that. There are these two guys that purposely drive a truck towards the wall and kill themselves so as not to be taken and implanted by the aliens. But again, you don't know who these characters are. So when the other humans are like, no, not those guys, I was like, yeah, those guys. I don't know who they were. So yeah, this movie is bad. This movie is worse than any of the Twilight movies by a lot. It is. Is it the worst movie I've seen all year? No. Just off the top of my head, it's probably number 2 on the list of worst movies I've seen this year. Because number 1 is still movie 43. I would rather watch this than movie 43 because at least here I wasn't disgusted by what was going on. It didn't hurt me. Yeah, I was bored. I was so bored during this movie. But it didn't hurt me like it did movie 43, so I don't know. Movie 43 is worse than this. Is this worse than Kick-Ass 2? I don't know. They're kind of on par. You know, Kick-Ass 2 kind of has that same offensive quality that movie 43 had, so it's kind of a mix. So it's very hard to decide. It's kind of a toss-up between this and Kick-Ass 2. But yeah, it's gonna end up on the list of worst movies I've seen all year. There's no question in my mind that it will. I mean, it's a turd. It's a turd. It is, like I said before, it is worse than any of the Twilight movies. It is so uninvesting. The acting is terrible. There is no effort put into the acting. The writing is terrible. There is such incompetence in this writing. I still can't believe that I can't believe that the director of Gattaca took this on. But then again, they had good directors for the later Twilight movies, but it doesn't matter because they are still working with this just writing. So yeah. The music is nice, but again, the acting is very stilted, very dull. The writing you actually start to pick apart very early, but after a while you stop caring about how bad the writing is and worry more about the movie ending, because the sooner this movie ends, the sooner you can be free of it. But then this thing is over 2 hours, and it feels like 4. The narrative structure is complete. The narrative structure is a mess. I mean, there is no structure. It's like I said, it's just this random series of events. That's all I got for the host. That is all I got. When the best thing I can say about your movie is the music wasn't terrible, that's a problem. You might want to rethink your profession. I mean, this is easily going to end up on the worst movies of the year. Not just for me, but probably for a lot of people. And it's not this thing where I'm jumping on any kind of Stephenie Meyer hate bandwagon. It's just a terrible movie. So, it's better than movie 43. Take that for what little it's worth.